present the colors. Good evening and welcome. We now bring you the East-West Show Choir, who will lead us in the national anthem. Please stand.
Good evening. My name is Bob Mockerman, and I have the privilege of serving here as the pastor at St. John's Lutheran Church. It is indeed our privilege to host this evening, to be selected for this year's opportunity to service our community and acknowledge our veterans. I would ask at this time, if you would, as a part of the welcome and invocation, with those of you who have served, those of you who are currently serving, please rise. In my tradition, it begins like this: the Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Oh, you've got that tradition too. God of compassion, God of dignity and strength, watch over the veterans of the United States. In recognition of their loyal service to our nation, bless them with wholeness and love, shelter them. Heal their wounds, comfort their hearts, grant them peace. God of justice and truth, rock of our lives, bless our veterans, men and women of courage and valor, with a deep and abiding understanding of our profound gratitude. Protect them, protect their families from loneliness and want, grant them lives of joy and bounty. May their dedication and honor be remembered as a blessing from generation to generation. Blessed are you, protector, redeemer, our shield and our strength. Amen.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Stephanie Landis, and on behalf of the Boyertown Rotary Club, we welcome you here this evening. We're so thankful that our local veterans and other distinguished guests could be with us this evening as we express our gratefulness to the men and women who have dedicated their lives to our country. I would also like to extend a special thank you to my fellow Rotarians and the St. John's congregation for sponsoring this evening's event. The theme for the 2019 Veterans Day is service. As stated on the military benefits website, veterans contribute to American society in many ways, not just during their time in active duty. Throughout our history, military service members have put on their uniforms to protect the values and liberties that this nation was built on. But that doesn't stop once the uniform comes off and their time in active duty has ended. Veterans take the lessons they have learned and the experiences they've gained and continue their service to our nation by strengthening our communities. They become our nation's leaders, scientists, entrepreneurs. Veterans are the most active volunteers working to improve communities across our country. Service goes beyond the uniform. This Veterans Day, we honor the men and women who have worn their uniform who continue to serve our country. Fitting with this theme, our Veterans Day program this evening focuses on the question, why serve? I could stand here and share research, survey results, and a historical perspective. Instead, we bring you the answers to the questions why serve from the mouths of some of our local veterans. I recently had the pleasure of visiting Chestnut Knoll and spending some time with several men and even a woman who served during World War II and the Korean War. I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to hear their stories firsthand. Please sit back and listen intently to the powerful words of some of our local heroes. I hope that it helps history come to life for you, just as it did for me. We thank all of our veterans for their service to our community, both in times of war and peace.
How is it important to serve? Because we need to defend ourselves. And what was the rest of the question?
Why did you serve?
I was drafted.
Okay. How old were you when you were drafted?
18.
18 years old. Wow. What's your role?
I was a private ground pounder, and if we had problems, I helped take care of it. And sometimes I was a prisoner of war guard, and we shipped the Korean and Chinese prisoners back to North Korea.
Wow. Thank you so much for your service. Why did you serve?
Because Uncle sent me a letter in the mail.
And why do you think people should serve our country?
But because we think it's our duty.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Frank. And why did you serve? Were you drafted?
No, I joined.
You joined? Were you pretty young when you did that?
I was 18 years old.
Okay.
After that, we were told the war ended, it's not a problem with refuse. And the war ended, and they told us that we had a choice to either get out or join for 6 years. I didn't feel like joining for 6 years. And so I got released. Scottsville, Naval Base, over at
Will Grove. Okay. And then you went into teaching after that?
I went into teaching.
We set up the gunfire, told the direction of where it went, how it went, how far it went, all those things. How to do with the gunfire that we followed up with.
And where were you stationed?
Different places on board the ship. For one of us,
Were you in the Pacific Ocean?
yes,
Yeah.
Korea, there in Missouri.
Okay. And why did you serve in the military?
See, when I graduated high school, my brother were in the service, and I joined the service. I wore glasses, so I couldn't get into the regular service.
Because of your eyesight?
Yes.
Yeah. So that determined what jobs you could do in the military?
What I did, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And why do you think people should serve our country?
It's a thing to do with this country. Should try to keep the country out of trouble, out of mischief, out of places.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did as a dispatcher in the Army?
Well, I used to have to take care of all the scheduling for the maintenance of the vehicles, write the trip tickets for whoever they needed a vehicle for. We had a general that went out every day to the general of the Jeep. So, other than that,
Great. Thank you so much for your service. Why did you decide to join the military?
well, actually, I was drafted,
Okay.
but it was a pleasure to serve. I think everybody, it's a shame. I think they should have kept up the draft because I think there'd be less trouble in the world.
Yeah.
That's my own personal feeling.
If more people would serve?
Right.
Yeah.
You have to learn to listen to commands, observe and respect other people. And I think that's lacking in today's society.
Well, basically, the only language I really think that I had was Russian. Soviet Union.
And why did you serve in the military?
Why?
Why?
Something to do, I guess. You just can't get bored sitting around the house all the time.
You didn't get drafted then?
No,
No. You signed up?
time to.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your service.
Well, it was a little scary at first because we have our own development, the women, away from the other Marines in that area. And so every woman had their own place to work. They were doing. And my twin sister and I, they chose us to be in charge of the barracks, make sure that all the girls were at a certain place at a certain time, and check and all that.
So you and your twin sister were stationed together?
Yes,
And where were you?
in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
And that was during World War II?
Yes.
Wow. And why did you serve in the military?
Well, we were working at home in a factory. And it was rather dull. And we were done. And we saw these women Marines on the streets. And then we said, why don't we join the Marines? And that's how that would just walk right.
Wow. How long did you serve?
About 2 years.
2 years. Wow. Thank you so much for your service. Why do you think people should serve our country today?
Why? Well, they just want to do it. And after all, what else would we want to do? You know, I think it's a good job.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Well, I had to set up the mortar, and for me to give us a distance, and that I had on my tripod with the tube on there, and there was I had a level. There was a level, and that's how we set the distance of the mortar shelter.
Wow. And you did that during World War II?
Yes, yes.
And where were you stationed?
In Italy,
Italy.
the Italian campaign.
Okay.
Fifth Army.
Fifth Army in Italy. Well, thank you so much for serving. Why did you serve in the military?
That's what I said. I was drafted, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. Why do you think it's important for people to serve their country today?
I think every young man should put at least 1 year of service in.
And why do you think that?
Good for him.
Yeah?
It's good for him.
What did you learn from the experience?
Well, I grew up.
Matured you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to, right?
When they're shooting at you, you grow up.
Yeah, you had to. Yeah. Well, thank you for your service, Frank.
At this time, I'd like to invite our distinguished guest to the stage. Senior Master Sergeant Bill Schweitzer, retired. Bill retired in August with 42 years in the Air Force National Guard as a security force, serving as a reservist in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. Of those 42 years, 8.5 years were in active duty status. Bill has traveled the world and has served with some of the best men and women he now considers his second family. Bill?
Thank you. It is a privilege and an honor to be here among such great Americans, men and women who served their country. I am just ecstatic just to be in your presence. Thank you so much. Do we have any Vietnam veterans here? Sir, please stand. Please stand, gentlemen. In the beginning shots of the Gulf War, there was a knock at my door. It was January of 1990. It was our exterminator, Bruce. Bruce and I talked. He knew I was in the Air Force. Bruce was in the Army. He knew I had 2 young kids. Bruce came in and said, listen, if you have to go, myself and some of the other veterans that I work with, they will pay for your service. So don't cancel the service. And that was my first exposure to truly the Vietnam veterans and what they did for our country. Since then, every airport I came home, every welcome back, every going away, the Vietnam veterans were at the forefront, making sure that we were honored and made sure that people appreciated what we did, not like when they came home. So gentlemen, your service to our country did not fall on blind eyes. Thank you so much. So why did I join, and why did I stay 42 years? Joining, it was twofold. My father served in the Army. He was in Germany. My uncle served under Patton at the Battle of the Bulge. And the uncle that I'm named after, William, he was a Navy man, active duty, got off of active duty, joined the Merchant Marines, and was tragically killed in an explosion on the ship. On my mother's side of the family, my one uncle, he was in the Army Air Corps and flew gliders. My other uncle was in a Marine in Guadalcanal, was wounded. And my aunt, she joined the Army also. My parents didn't drive. Dad worked at Tasty Cake. Mom was a stay-at-home wife. My horizons was literally 3 miles. That's how far it was to my high school. My grade school was 2 blocks away. That's all I knew. And I knew there was a big world out there, and I truly wanted to see it. And I also wanted to follow in the footsteps of my relatives and serve our great country. So as a junior, I told my parents I was going to join the Air Force. A friend of mine said, well, if you're going to go, I'm going to go. So my dad said, well, when you graduate, there'll be a job waiting for you at Tasty Cake. He really didn't believe that I was going to join. So I graduated, and he came home with a big smile on his face. He goes, boy, I got you a job. I said, Dad, you better read this first, because I was only 17, and they had a sign. So he goes out, and he wasn't too happy about it, and my mom told him, listen, Joe, either you sign the papers now, or when the boy turns 18, he's going. So they signed, gave me their blessing. Off I went to Lackland Air Force Base, and then from there, my first duty station was RAF Bentwaters, England. I got to travel. Spent 2 years there, and then I went to Rapid City, South Dakota. So I went from England to the north. Spent my last 2 years on active duty up there, and really active duty wasn't my cup of tea. I love serving. I love the Air Force. It's just I didn't want to stay on active duty. So as I was out processing, the reserve recruiter came up and said, listen, we have a program called the Air Force Reserves. I knew nothing about the Air Force Reserves. I was active duty Air Force. So I signed, and they said, well, there's a base at Willow Grove. 38 years later, I was at Willow Grove for 38 years. Worked with a great group of men. During the 80s, it was the Cold War. I was strictly a reservist. We went weekend a month, 2 weeks during the summer. Still got my opportunity to travel. We had a good rotation. We would do our ground combat training 1 year. The second year, it was either Germany or England. And the third year was Hobart Field, Florida. It doesn't get any better than that. The little skirmish we had in 1990, we did not get called up for it. The Desert War, it was over too quick. September 11th. We trained, we hoped we never had to. The events of September 11th happened, and I'm sound asleep. I worked for the Postal Service. I was working nights, and I had no clue what was going on in America. I wake up, my answering machine is blowing up, people are screaming on it. I have no idea. My captain, he calls, and there's a message there, you need to call right away. So I call. I said, what's going on? He goes, what do you mean, what's going on? I said, I just woke up. What's going on? He goes, we're under attack. I said, get the heck out of here. We're under attack. He said, put the television on. And my heart just sunk. America was attacked. Within days, I was activated. Immediately, we start sending troops out throughout the United States to backfill the active duty. Probably about 6 months later, it was our turn. We start sending, my first group went out to Qatar. I was on the second rotation. I went to Masira Island, Oman. Never knew there was an island off of Oman, but I was there. And then from there, I was flying security missions into Afghanistan and Uzbekistan. 16 months we were activated, came back. 2010, I was activated, and I went to the transit center at Manas in Kyrgyzstan. Everything, troops and equipment going into Afghanistan, first came into Kyrgyzstan. I spent 6 months over there. traveled a little over there. I got the opportunity to get off the base and see some of Kyrgyzstan. Activated for a year there. 2007, they closed Willow Grove. They deactivate my reserve unit, and I had the opportunity to spend the last 12 years in the Air National Guard. It was just phenomenal. Throughout the years, I did get a chance. I seen the world. I went from Europe to Asia to the Middle East, from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the North to the South. I couldn't ask for anything more. But for serving, the opportunity of travel, that started to diminish in my eyes. It was more about the people I got to stand next to. I really don't consider myself a very patriotic person. I just enjoyed the men and women that I got to stand next to. And to go to battle, I couldn't go with a better group, nor would I want them to go without me. It was a phenomenal experience. That's my story. I truly enjoyed the people. As the years went by, we would go out, especially after 9/11, the support for the military was just phenomenal. So we would go out to lunch or something on a drill weekend, and people would come up and thank us for a service. And I was no spring chicken. I had a lot of stripes, so they'd say, well, Sarge, how many years have you been in? And it would be 30, and you would see them look like. I wouldn't say a word. Civilians would not understand. My brothers and sisters in the military, they would understand why. At 40 years, when they would come up and ask, how many years have you been in? And I would say 40. Just the blank stares, like, why would you stay in 40? And I would just smile, and they wouldn't understand. But the military understood. It wasn't about wearing a uniform. It wasn't about waving a flag. It was all about that person next to me. And that's why I stayed. So that's my story. Thank you all so much. May God bless our men and women who stand out there at night waiting for evil, ready to repel it to keep us free. And may God bless these great United States of America. Thank you, everybody.
Next, we have our musical selections performed by Swing Shift. Swing Shift is a group made up of 9 men and women, most of them local here to our area, and they play music from a lot of different eras, and they have a big band sound with many of the things they do, and we know that you will enjoy their performance this evening. Swing Shift.
There's no sun up in the sky, stormy weather. Since my man and I ain't together, keeps raining all the time. Life is bare, gloom and misery everywhere, stormy weather. Just can't get my poor self together. I'm weary all the time, so weary all the time. When he went away, the blues walked in and met me. If he stays away, old rocking chair will get me. All I need to do, the Lord above will let me walk in the sun once more. Can't go on, everything I had is gone, stormy weather. Since my man and I ain't together, keeps raining all the time, keeps raining all the time. When he went away, the blues walked in and met me. If he stays away, old rocking chair will get me. All I need to do, the Lord above will let me walk in the sun once more. Can't go on, everything I had is gone, stormy weather. Since my man and I ain't together, keeps raining all the time.
thank you all for being here with us this evening as we honor the service of our veterans. As we saw and heard in the video earlier, as well as from our distinguished speaker, our veterans have served in many different roles throughout numerous branches of the military. However, the one common value that unites them all is summed up in the words of John F. Kennedy. There are risks and costs to action, but they are far less than the long-range risks of comfortable inaction. Thank you, veterans, for your actions that have allowed us to experience life, liberty, and freedom in the greatest country on earth. God bless America. Retire the colors.
It's been my custom since I've been here to thank you because you've been in attendance at every one of these services I've attended for nearly, well, I guess for 5 years now. My father served in the Army. I asked him, "Why did you enlist?" He looked at me and I didn't understand it. He said, "Because of you." I'm old. I'm 60. And because of you tonight, I understand a little bit better. Thank you. Thank you for singing. Thank you for bringing youth to this room, to this evening, and to all those who served, because I suspect they too would say they served because of you. An old text says, "Above all, clothe yourselves with love. Love binds everything together in perfect harmony. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in the one body, and be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly. Teach and admonish one another in all wisdom, and with gratitude in your hearts, sing psalms, sing hymns, sing spiritual songs to God. And whatever you do, in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God through him."